Have you ever had the feeling that your real life exists somewhere else? Not because you dislike where you live, not because your country isn't beautiful, but because for as long as you can remember, you've had this inner knowing, this certainty that one day you would leave the country of your birth. Certainly, that is what happened with me. I knew from a really young age that I would leave South Africa, which is where I was born, and that I would immigrate and I would live in Canada. I knew it, and I told everyone as a child that I would be living in Canada one day. Anyway, perhaps you've already immigrated. Perhaps you've dreamed about it for years. Or perhaps you've moved halfway around the world only to discover that somehow you brought your old life with you and that nothing really has changed for you. So, how do you know the difference? How do you know if moving to another country is your destiny or if you are just trying to escape? And of course, you know what I'm going to say now. Your birth chart gives us remarkable clues as to whether or not you should actually immigrate or you should leave the country of your birth, or if you should just temporarily leave your country of birth. So, kind of like leave for work or extended periods of time. Right. So let's talk about the nodes of the moon. We're going to focus primarily on the north node in particular, but here's a quick lesson about the nodes. The nodes are points in space. They're not bodies, they're not planets. And I like how Melanie Reinhardt describes them. They're like wormholes that lead us into incarnation and they point into another dimension of consciousness for us. In other words, from a Jungian viewpoint, the North Node points us in the direction or hints at the direction of our heroic journey and describes our quest. So it says you won't evolve, you won't grow in consciousness if you stay too close to your origins or your instincts. And where are your origins and your instincts? That's represented in the South Node, where you feel comfortable, where things come easily to you in those particular areas. But we're not going to speak about the South Node. We're going to focus today on the North Node. So the North Node hints at where what your becoming is most likely to look like or where it's most likely to unfold. And it may, of course, not unfold in the country of your birth. It may be that you have to move in order to grow. So the South Node is not simply the past, just like the North Node is not quite simple, simply defined as the future. The South Node is like the place where things have become familiar. It's where you've inherited views of, inherited way of surviving. It's your default settings and the roles that you learn to play. It may even be where you've become successful. Many people become very successful by just working with their South Node strengths. But it no longer asks anything new of you. For you to grow, you have to go in the direction of the North Node, not because it's going to be easy, but because this is where your soul is inviting you to grow, right? After years of studying charts, I've noticed something very intriguing. Some charts insist that you deepen your roots. Others insist that you widen your horizons. Some people become themselves by remaining at home or extremely close to home. In other words, just moving to a different city but staying in the same country. Others only discover who they are when they actually leave their country. So this isn't a new idea. Humanity has been telling the story of, traveling to evolve, to transform, to grow, to go on the heroic journey for thousands of years. So, of course, I'm going to start off with a story. Today's one is going to be a myth, and of course, Odysseus is the classic example. Okay, so the tale of Odysseus or the myth of Odysseus. Odysseus is it's a very long epic poem. I'm not going to go into everything that happened to Odysseus here. A lot happened to Odysseus, but let us begin. Odysseus was born and raised in the island of Ithaca. He was married to Penelope, he had a son Telemachus, but of course he wanted to go fight in the Trojan War, and he set sail in 12, took 12 ships, 600 men. Off he went to fight the Trojan War. He won and then wanted to return back home. That was his intention, but he kept being blown off course. Him and his entire crew were just blown off course. And every time he got to a new place where he had been, taken literally by the winds, where the gods had directed him, he lost people. He lost 72 men to the Achaeans. Then he came to the island of the Lotus Eaters, where three of his men insisted on staying, but of course he tied them to his ship. Then he lost 6 men to Polyphemus the Cyclops. Then he arrived on the island of Circe, where Circe changed some of his men. Circe was the sorceress, changed some of his men into swine. Then she didn't want Odysseus to leave, but then he escaped. Then he ended up in the island of, Calypso's island, and the same thing. He kept losing men everywhere he went. Then they landed on Helios's island, the sun god, where the sacred cattle were kept, and Odysseus' men ate the cattle. He didn't eat the sacred cows, and they all died except for Odysseus. And eventually Odysseus reached home, so no man was left except Odysseus. Had all been killed off. So was Odysseus really trying to find his way home? I mean, he was gone for 10 years. He was gone for 10 years. Okay, and he kept being blown off course. The gods had other plans for him. What were the plans here? Was he really trying to find his way home, or was life making absolutely certain that he could never return as the man who had left? So the Odyssey, if you've ever read the Odyssey or studied the Odyssey, you'll know that the Odyssey is not actually a tale of travel. It's not about travel. It's not about adventure. It's about transformation. And this comes up in birth charts. So we're going to look at 2 birth charts today. They're very famous people, so I'm not going to linger on their stories. We're going to look at Arnold Schwarzenegger's chart, and we're going to look at Freddie Mercury's chart. And I encourage you to listen to these brief chart readings, because I am going to share with you the prediction or technique that I look at here that indicates whether or not you should leave the place of your birth, the country of your birth. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, so first up we have Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think, everyone's heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think it's necessary for me to go into all the details. He was born in Austria in 1947. He is a sun sign Leo. His ascendant is in Cancer. Anyway, we are wanting to look at his North Node. He has his North Node in Gemini in the 12th house. If you don't know how to read a chart, just note that the houses are very important. You've got these numbers here in the center of the wheel of the houses, and I use the whole sign system, which means each sign is divided into 30 degrees. This is the only system, well, not the only system I use depending on what I'm doing, but this is the one I prefer to use, okay? Anyway, the 12th house, Gemini, that's where his North Node is. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger has said, I think he said this in an interview, or he wrote it, but anyway, he said that he knew around the age of 10 that he would leave Austria, that he would live in the United States. He wanted to live in the United States, and that he wanted to be a bodybuilder. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger went on, as I'm sure you know, to move to the United States and work out in Venice Beach, I think, Los Angeles, and he went on to win 7 Mr. Olympia titles. So all of that happened for him. So what am I trying to say here? If I didn't know who Arnold Schwarzenegger was, if he did not say to me that he had these dreams or this knowing in and knowing that he would leave Austria one day, I would definitely predict that he would leave simply because of the North Node being in the 12th house. Okay, why? If your North Node is in the first, second, third, or fourth house, there is a very good chance that you will stay in the country of your birth. If your North Node is in your fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth house, you will probably leave for work or for other purposes often. Okay, or you may like move to another city and not live in the city of your birth, for example. But you will always return to the country of your birth. It's not a permanent move. If you have the North Node in your ninth, 10th, 11th, or 12th house, you will make your home somewhere else. That doesn't mean you're not going to own property in your country of birth or you're not going to travel to and fro. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger does that now. I think he has property in Austria and he travels, back and forth. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to return, but it is not permanent. You are based somewhere else, is what I'm trying to say. Now, a quick spiritual lesson here. And also a reminder that this is very general. Okay, I have seen charts, I have read for people who do not live in the country of their birth and are successful elsewhere, and they have their North Nodes in the first 4 houses. But there are reasons for this. Not going to get into all of them here, but I will share this lesson with you here. A very important lesson. Okay, so every soul has a spiritual tikkun, which is a rectification or mission. We are all here on a special mission, and we have to achieve certain things or accomplish certain things in each lifetime. Now, how we accomplish these things depends a lot on your geographical location. So, leaving a country without fulfilling your spiritual or destined purpose cuts you off from the energy and the lessons your soul was meant to acquire in that specific environment. And you must never abandon, ever, never abandon your spiritual or interpersonal or material obligations prematurely or in an irresponsible way before moving on. Because if you do not get to receive all the blessings that you should be, or that were lined up for you simply because you did not stay long enough to accomplish or to fulfill that soul mission. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So let's look at another chart, Freddie Mercury's chart, and we can see that he's got the North Node in the 11th house. Freddie Mercury was born to a Parsi Indian family in Zanzibar, Tanzania. His family actually had to leave. I think there was a revolution, and he left, and they settled in Middlesex, England. Again, we can see the North Node in the 11th house, a conjunct Uranus, which also is an indication already of that revolution. I mean, he left because of a revolution, but again, I'm not going to go into a full interpretation of his chart, but that's just one hint of why he had to leave and why he was based elsewhere. Okay. Every month, someone asks me, should I move? Should I leave the country of my birth? Should I leave the city? Should I go to another city? And after years of reading charts, I've learned that that is almost always never the real question. The real question is this move an expression of my destiny, or is it an attempt to escape a situation or to escape an old pattern. Of course, some situations are dangerous and you have to leave as soon as possible. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you move without considering those two questions, are you moving because the time has come? You know the time has come. You have done the necessary work on yourself. You have achieved or accomplished what you have to accomplish wherever you find yourself, and now it is time to move on. Or are you just trying to escape something? And I can tell you that the grass is never, ever greener on the other side if you have not done the necessary work, because I read charts with people all the time who keep repeating the same patterns in relationships, the same patterns at work. Everything keeps repeating. So, if you are thinking of relocating, and if you've never understood why you've always felt like a stranger where you are, I invite you to look beyond the practical question of where you live and where to live. You can, of course, book a reading with me. My details are in the description box. But if you do not book a reading, please do sit with this and ask yourself, is this move an expression of my destiny, or is it just an attempt to escape an old pattern? Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot to me. See you in the next video.